Hi, I'm Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video, I'm going to teach you about the 4 syllable division rules in English. These are must-know patterns if you teach reading. I have to confess, though, that I did not know them myself until like multiple years after I had been teaching, but now that I know them, they're incredibly helpful, and I'm going to tell you why in this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that you don't miss any of the literacy teaching videos that I post. All right, so the 4 syllable division patterns. First of all, it kind of blew my mind that there are only four ways that words can be divided into syllables in English. And the reason why it blew my mind is because I always thought of the English language as being like very complex and just, I don't know, like all over the place. But the reality is that there's only 4 syllable division patterns, which is awesome because that means it's less to teach. I also, by the way, in my phonics program, we only teach the first 3 that I'm going to show you in K2. And then normally I wouldn't teach this last pattern that I'm going to tell you about until like 3rd grade or up. So that being said, let's also talk about why it's important to know these yourself and be able to teach them. So as early as 1st grade, kids are coming into contact with multisyllabic words, even if it's just like the ing ending, right? Like running, something like that. So pretty early on, they need to be able to decode them. Many times, phonics programs will only cover like 1 syllable words, or there's just like not a lot of multisyllabic word reading or writing practice. And that's not good because when kids then come to multisyllabic words in context, they may be able to apply some of their phonics knowledge, but if they can't break up the word, you can guarantee that they're gonna like kind of breeze through the middle or mess up the end. I have to confess, another confession, that when I was younger and I was a reader, I would kind of like ignore parts of multisyllabic words because I just didn't know what to do with them. So this is why it's so important that we teach kids how to divide words into syllables. We need them to be able to tackle words in text and also to be able to spell them too. So what I'm going to show you here is like the process that I use to teach kids to divide words into syllables. We're not going to talk about the syllable types. That is something important that I teach, but this video we're just going to talk about the syllable division patterns. And then of course the purpose of this, yes, I'm going to show you like how to do it on a strip, and this is super fun, but we want to be relating this back to kids actually reading. So when you're doing this, make sure that you're also, when they're reading in small group or whatever, you're talking to them about how, okay, maybe we aren't like physically cutting words in a book, but in our minds, we still need to look for those syllables and chunk the word so that we can read it. So always apply it back to the main purpose, which would be reading and writing real words. Okay, so the first syllable division pattern that I teach tells us that if there are 2 consonant sounds, this represents C for consonant, consonant sound, between 2 vowel sounds, V for vowel, here, then we are going to divide the word between the 2 consonants. So let me show you what I do with my kiddos to have them physically divide up words. Now, I like this process because it's very hands-on. They actually get to break up words. Eventually, you could just have them like write or give them a copy of a word and they're like drawing lines to divide. You don't have to go through all of this, but I think at the beginning it is nice to go through all of it because it's just so hands-on. All right, so the first thing I would do is I would give them the word and they either like get a strip that has it on it or they copy it from the board, but I don't read the word to them. The whole point of this, teaching the syllable division rules, is to get them to be able to decode multisyllabic words. If I read it to them, that defeats the purpose of the activity, right? So some of your kids may know how to read the word already, and that's okay. The rule is just that you zip it and we don't tell anybody what the word is until the very end. So they get their word, right? This is a pretty basic one. Of course, like your firsties, they may not know how to read this. I try to choose, and in the phonics program, we try to choose words that like have less common syllable division patterns, or not less common syllable division patterns, words, multisyllabic words that are less common, sorry. So like sunset is pretty common. We might choose something that's just a little more unique to give the kids more of a challenge and try to ensure that, you know, the kids wouldn't necessarily know what it is right off the bat. Okay, so we've got our word here, okay? The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna circle the vowels, and I like to have them use red to do this. And then underneath, we're gonna write the letter V. The reason why we are labeling the vowels and the consonants is because we then want to be able to look at what is the syllable division rule. Of course, at first I only teach one. Okay, so the next thing that we do is I have them underline the consonants. I do like to do it in blue at first. This actually looks kind of more like purple, but that's okay. So they're individually underlined, each consonant sound, and you can have them do it in pencil eventually. So now that we have this, we've circled the vowels and we've underlined the consonants. Now we need to determine the syllable division rule. So of course we're only working on this so the kids will know there's 2 consonant sounds between the vowel sounds. So we're going to divide the syllable here. I'm actually going to physically cut the word. You could also just have the kids like draw a line where they think they want to divide it, and then you could like make sure that they're on the right track before they actually cut. Okay, so now we have our 2 syllables. Now what we're going to do is we're going to blend to read each syllable and the whole word. Sun, set, sunset. Now this is a pretty easy example, right? Like I said before, I like to choose more unusual words that are really going to challenge the kids, but at the same time, if you've got early firsties, this is going to be a challenge word for them. But just because I showed you this simpler example does not mean that this does not apply to more advanced readers, because it does for sure. One thing that I want to mention about this syllable division rule is that it can get a little tricky because not all words have only 2 letters, 2 consonant letters between the vowel sounds. So let me give you 2 examples here. Okay, so just like with this one, we would circle the vowels, right? And then, sorry, the T's a little squished here. When it comes to underlining the consonants, the kids are going to notice that there's actually 1, 2, 3 consonants. So like, what's up with that? Well, you may have noticed that I was saying consonant sounds, not consonants. So like this is a consonant sound. The T and the H are working together to say, it's a digraph, right? And then this is the consonant sound. So technically there are only 2 consonant sounds here. So we would divide it here. But kids have to learn to look for digraphs. Another thing that can possibly be tricky is if there is a blend, a consonant blend in the middle of a word. Now, with a consonant blend, the 2 letters retain their individual sounds. In a blend, it's not the same as a digraph, right? Like they're not working together to make one sound. Let's see if I can think of a word with a consonant blend in the middle. Okay, let's do the word softball. Not super challenging, but it works for this. So here's our word. And of course, we're going to notice that these are the vowels. And then here we run into trouble again because we actually see 3 consonants. Now, it's not the same as in the digraph situation. However, the F and the T, we're just going to treat as 1 consonant sound. Again, they're not. They're a blend. But we're going to put it like this. We're going to keep the F and the T together. And then we're going to divide it here. Sometimes it can be tricky for kids because they have to know like what are common consonant blends to be able to look for them. But what we really want our kids to do is like not get super rigid about like, yes, like learning the rules, but again, the main point is for them to break up the word and read the syllables and then read the whole word. So we don't want to make them get too caught up in like the specific rules. And yes, we teach them, but if a child gets stuck, what we do is we say, okay, like let's back up. How do you think, could we try to break it up here and then see if we can read it? And if it doesn't work, try to break it up here instead. You can teach them to be flexible because that's the whole point of doing this, is to read words. Okay, so that is the syllable division pattern. Next up, we have the rule that if there is 1 consonant sound between the vowel sounds, then we first try to divide the word before that middle consonant. So let me give you an example. Here we have this word. Again, remember, we do not read it to kids. They have to break it up, decode it, etc. We have our vowels here, and we have 1 consonant here. Okay, so the first thing we always try is to divide the word before the consonant. This then creates what's called an open syllable that ends with a vowel sound. The vowel is long, ro. This one is a closed syllable, so it's a short vowel, bot. robot. Again, like I said before, I'm not going to get into the syllable types because that would make this video even longer. But basically, we've got our two vowels. There's one consonant in between. We divided it before the consonant. This leaves this syllable open with a long vowel and this syllable closed with a short vowel. By the way, helping kids with vowel sounds is another reason why syllable division is so helpful. Okay, so that's this rule. Now this rule is a little bit trickier. I always start with this rule because I feel like it's the easiest. These two kind of go hand in hand because you'll notice here that there's still, in this syllable division rule, there's still only one consonant. So like, when do you do this? And when do you do this one? And when do you do that one is the question, right? So let's say you have this word. Okay. Again, the first thing we try, if we've got two vowels and one consonant sound in between, we actually try to divide it before the consonant first. Now this again creates an open syllable where the vowel sound is long. Comet, comet. That is not a word. So now what we need to do, if we have tried the above rule and that doesn't work, is we're going to try dividing it after and see if that's a real word. Comet, comet. So that's the tricky thing about these two. They kind of go hand in hand. Usually what I'll do is I'll teach this one, give them practice examples, and then, you know, like a couple of weeks later or a week later, I'll teach them this one, depending on what grade I'm working with. So they just have to be able to use these flexibly. Again, coming back to that rule of if you try something and it doesn't work, try it a different way. Okay, so these three are what I teach in K2. The V/V syllable division rule is that when there are two vowels between the consonant sounds, like in the word poet, we are going to divide the word between those vowel sounds, those vowels. So the reason why I do not teach this in K2 is because it requires kids to know diphthongs pretty well. It requires them to know vowel teams quite well, and we all know that those things take time to unfold. And so kids are not going to be able to know right off the bat, oh, is this a vowel team? Because it can be a vowel team. Is this a diphthong? They really need to understand vowel teams and diphthongs well before they start using this rule, because these are neither vowel teams nor diphthongs. So in poet, two vowels, right, we divide it here. So this, in my opinion, is something that we can kind of push off. And then these three I teach in first and second grade. You can teach this rule at the end if that's something, of second, if that's something that you want to do. But there are many more words in the English language that follow these patterns anyway. All right, I hope that this was helpful to you. If you didn't know this information, don't feel bad. I didn't either for a long time, but it can really help our kids be successful with dividing up multisyllabic words and reading them. I have a freebie for you. So in my phonics program, From Sounds to Spelling, we teach syllable division as part of the program, at least in first and second grade. So it's built into the lessons because, again, I feel like it's so important that programs include this, and many programs don't. If you would like a free week of lesson plans, it covers, you know, syllable division, but also so many other things are included. You get materials, games, everything in the free week. Look for the link that goes with this video. You can get a kindergarten, first grade, and or second grade whole week of phonics lesson plans for free. Hope this was helpful. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.